the problem and create some mentality will be like for a long time.
In the other games of the evening, Crystal Palace are at home to Aston Villa, Bournemouth will be away to Brighton, and Fulham will play Wolves.
Well, the very best rider of English football, we know quite well that it is the twilight of the season and teams are jostling for points to avoid relegation as well as make European football for next season. David Doherty is a seasoned football administrator as well as an analyst, and he joins the show this evening. David, good evening. It's good to have you on the show.
Yeah, good afternoon, Sulaiman. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm good. How you doing?
No, not bad. Not bad.
Okay.
It's quite cold here.
I can see from your outfit. Now, let's delve into, the English Premier League as quickly as we can. 12 more games for so many teams. For, few teams, it's just 11 games. Teams such as Liverpool have played 27 already. 26 games down into the season. And Chelsea, the rebuilding project under Enzo Maresca, that those who would have said it's been a failure thus far. But when you consider the lofty expectations of the fans, you can't argue otherwise. Against Southampton, it has to be a win. But for a team that's won just 2 of the last 10 games, it's definitely not inspiring confidence at this point in time. Chelsea at home, Cole Palmer has not scored in the last 6 games, struggling a dip in form, you want to say. How do you see this panning out for all of the struggles that Chelsea have, both defensively and also offensively?
For me, with Enzo Maresca, I don't really I don't have too much belief in his approach and in its mindset, the way he set out his players, and at times how he tends to relate when he loses games, and it's not really very inspiring, like you mentioned. Chelsea are really struggling. We've never been at this position. I think Maresca is just a flash. The Chelsea owners, who are also a big part of this problem, including the management and the board. I think they need to understand that this is a football club that doesn't, that they don't settle for less. We're doing that since the beginning of the season, and so don't be surprised if Southampton come to Stamford Bridge and pick up a draw or a point. You can't just have that trust in this Chelsea side. They're not actually giving us that sign for us to for people to actually believe that they're out there to challenge, at the top level.
Okay, let's look at the team's offensive struggles now. We know earlier in the season there was that concern about Nicholas Jackson being the go-to guy for Chelsea Football Club as against other top strikers like Mohamed Salah or even Erling Haaland at Manchester City, players that can give you 20+ goals per season. And we can all recall how Super Eagles legend Jean-Michel Obi also criticized the Senegalese, and they responded with few goals, but it was all about Cole Palmer carrying them through during that rough process. Now Palmer has dipped in form. The struggles are there offensively and defensively as well, that conceding goals. So how do you expect Maresca to address this issue, not just for tonight's game, but also going forward towards the end of the season so they can finish the season strong?
I think the problem the whole problem still sits with the owners, the management, and also Maresca. They had Osimhen on the plate. They should have go ahead and get the deal done. Yes, what's his name? The striker that you mentioned that is out injured. As Jackson has managed to do what he can at this level, he's not the top-notch striker yet. He's not fully ripe yet. I think we need a striker that's already done it, that is doing it, that can deliver in the Premier League, and that points directly to Victor. And I don't know why Chelsea are playing some funny games in getting their man, and also in the defense, like you mentioned. It seems we have players that are not ripe enough. There's no leadership in the defense, which is something that I've been saying from the beginning of the season. They need a leader. They need someone that is permanent, someone that has seen it all, that understand the game, to actually lead from the back as well. So these are the core key areas. If you look at the forward, the midfield, and the attack, you need some form of leadership for you to steer a team to the right direction. And the coach that we have, I think he is a championship coach. He states all. For me, I'm not really keen. I don't really fancy Maresca that much until he proves me wrong. and that would then probably change, the old mindset. But as it is now, I don't think it's the manager for Chelsea. If anything happens tonight, that doesn't mean we will, be able to do much better than what we've been doing. Palmer, like you mentioned, is he's struggling with goals. Yes, he's missing out, not having the likes of Jackson to also help, carry out one or two things. But as it is, you can't tell us without Jackson, we can still have a striker or someone that can get the goals into the net. I think everything still boils down to Maresca's, formation, how he set out his players, and the owners. They need to understand this is Chelsea. We don't need to settle for less.
Okay, we'll see how that pans out, especially from tonight, where you would have the match against Southampton. Let's talk about other games now that we would expect later today, talking about matches that will be taken on in Spain. You do not have league games, but we know quite well that there will be the Copa del Rey semi-final clash. It is a big one, a clash of the Titans, you want to call it. It's Barcelona against Atletico Madrid. And for Barcelona, the Catalans, they've been dealt a huge blow already, as Lamine Yamal is extremely doubtful, or hugely doubtful rather, for this tie. Definitely a big blow to them offensively against an Atletico Madrid side that we know how resolute they can be, or how resilient they can be defensively. How do you see this pan out? It's Barcelona against Atletico Madrid, the very first leg of this great semi-final match.
I think it's going to be an interesting game. Don't forget, Atletico is a side that they are very, very hard to break. Coming from the type of manager they have, his mindset, his approach, and also the way he tends to play, or wants his team to play. And then coming to Barcelona, that has a manager that wants to go all out attacking. Like you mentioned, Yamil is a big miss for them. But I think they still have that quality in that team to be able to to go all the way against Atletico. But trust me, this is going to be a very big game. It's going to be a game that will really ask a big question about the whole Barcelona team. But I mean, we should expect a very interesting game tonight from both sides.
Okay, let's turn our attention now to the Coppa Italia. We know there would also be a quarterfinal fixture in Italy. No league games again. It's all about the cup games. It's Inter Milan against Lazio. Another tricky affair. Inter Milan this season, they've not been that ruthless as we saw them last season in terms of dispatching opponents and, coasting home to victories. It's always been the grind, really. 1-0, 2-1, just trying to see out games and grind it out. But again, that's the hallmark of champions. When you're not playing at your best, you're still able to grind out results. Inter Milan against Lazio, how do you see this pan out?
I think it's going to be, like I said, an interesting game. If you ask me, who do I want to see win the game? I think I would definitely go for Lazio. I would only just push for Lazio, mainly just because of our Nigerian player, the Super Eagles player, Inde Dele Fisayo Bashiru. I hope they can be able to rough it on and try and hold their own side and ensure that they take their chances against an Inter Milan that can easily switch things around anytime, any day. A team that has been there, seen it. They know how to win games even when they are not playing very well. Is what really matters. But for me, I would like to see Lazio, to try and push, to the last 10 and ensure they get result out of this.
Okay, let's move away from there now and talk about the African Cup of Nations and the debate that has been generating across social media and other spaces. And that has to do with how prestigious, how big the competition is. We know quite well that former Liverpool player, Liverpool legend, you want to call him, Jamie Carragher, was the one that sparked that debate as a result of his comments about the competition, saying it's not a major tournament, and that was while he was extolling the greatness of Mohamed Salah at this point in time and the possibility of Salah winning the Ballon d'Or. I have to get your thoughts, as against the Nations Cup, which is definitely a big deal here in Africa.
I think it's both anyway, but I think the first question we should ask ourselves is, Jamie, that is actually, talking down African Nations Cup. And you ask him what tournament what major tournament has it deserves a lot more respect. I think what AFCON or CAF can do to actually give, AFCON that kind of vibes or that kind of, what do I call it, relevance or more, in terms of, prestige is to actually do more in the media end of this tournament. They need to pull every strings. They need to do more better to actually increase, the visibility, ensure that they look, is what you have. You can only promote what you have. You have to promote yourself. Put that report for me.
Okay, I like the fact that you mentioned the last African Cup of Nations we saw at Cote d'Ivoire. There were record numbers in terms of viewership, and what have you across board. Again, is it really about the publicity aspect of things, as you've mentioned, or it's about the organization, the quality of play as well? Football is the total package. The spectacle, fans want to see lush green fields, stadia being filled up. They want to see quality of football being played to be appealing to them. It's not necessarily the tiki-taka, as we call it, in terms of the sleek rhythmic football, but it's a whole lot, really. So the question is it really about the publicity aspect of things, as you have mentioned, or we need to do more in terms of organization, getting fans to the stadium to make the stadium as well look appealing in terms of the aesthetics, and more importantly, the quality of football on the play? Maybe because African football is more physical, or tends to be more physical, that may not just appeal to the Europeans especially.
I think it's a total package, like you mentioned, but I think, there are areas that we still think we need to do more, which is, like I said, the media part, the organizational part. Compared to 10 years ago, I think it's countries or European clubs, want to gain the services of our players. So we should always, try and, take advantage of our strengths, improve on them. There's nothing bad having to have that physical angle, which is against, the European part. So I think it's something that we can still get better. Away from that, we still have, that creativity, that flair in our football. It's just because that the physical part always, gets more. Actually appears more, when the team is playing, and that is where you find out that. And I tell you, this is what makes African Nations Cup what it is. Yeah.
Okay, in about 30 seconds, talk to us. Are you also of the opinion that on the basis of what we've seen this season, Mohamed Salah is the leading contender for the Ballon d'Or?
Absolutely. There's no doubt about that. He's doing it. He's still going to do it, and he'll still continue to do it. He's in the form of his life, and I think we should all
there and see how things pan out at the end of the day. The Nations Cup will take place in December, and we know quite well that will be towards the end of the year when the awards would roll out. So you never can tell. Salah may have been given the Ballon d'Or award even before the Nations Cup comes calling. Well, before I let you go, let me get your thoughts concerning Manchester United. The club announced shock cost-cutting measures yesterday that will include over 200 jobs redundant in a bid to return to profitability. Now, we know quite well that the chief executive, Omar Berrada, informed the employees that there will be a fresh round of redundancies as part of a transformation plan. Free lunches as well will no longer be provided for staff at Old Trafford, saving the club more than £1 million a year, while the catering arrangements at Carrington will be unchanged for the remainder of the season. Now, this is a club that revealed a loss of £27.7 million in their second quarter financial results, and they've lost over £300 million over the past 3 years. David, for all of the struggles that Manchester United have on the field of play, most fans have said the owners are not just concerned because the club is making money, the profit aspect is what they are just concerned about, the commercial aspect of things. But this is a club that is also losing money. So is this the right way to go in terms of cutting costs, or ensuring that they invest massively in the team so that it translates into on-field success, which would then bring revenue to the club?
For me, I think the direction the club is going, I think the management best, do know where, it pinches, for them. And as a business, you always want to make profit. Nobody goes into business to actually, fail or keep pounding on debts and all that. And I think if they think it's the best way for them to, cut jobs and all that, reduce the numbers of stuff that they're actually doing, or whatever they are actually, paying for, or services that they're paying for, to try and, recoup some more money, and maybe look at ways to reinvest such funds into, players acquisition and all that. Yes, if that's the best way for them, or that's the right way, they can. But the thing is, it's for them to also look at what these staffs that are going to be left, out of jobs, what they probably going to be doing. This is a big chunk of numbers that you're talking about, and with the struggles in terms of job getting job in the UK now is quite very, very hard. And I don't know what those families are going to be doing. So it's another way for them to look at it and see how best to balance it. But in terms of, profit making, this is business. They need to also make, money. Fans are seeing the side of the game, just seeing you playing and all that. But trust me, the people investing are investing to make profit. So for me, I don't have anything, against that. But I mean, when it's time for them to inject funds into players, recruitment and all that, quality players, I think they should do that as well, as much as them making, profit, in the game.
Okay, we'll just see how that pans out. Talking about the very best of, decisions being made at Manchester United. Definitely the fans are not happy at this point in time. I have to thank you so much for your time on the show this evening, David Doherty, Football Administrator. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, Sulaiman. Thank you, and have a great day. Thank you.
You too. We'll take a breather right about now. When we return, we'll bring you other sports right here on the show. And it's all about the very best of Formula One to boxing, not forgetting the world of basketball and tennis.
TVC Sport Desk.
Thanks for staying tuned. This is the very best of sports right here on TVC Sports Desk, the Tuesday installment of the show. It's now time to bring you all the sports. Let's start with the world of Formula One. It's all about the new season, and it will begin on Friday. And we know quite well that teams have released their cars or unveiled their cars that will be competing for the Formula One title. But the last two teams are the arch rivals, Red Bull and Mercedes. Now, Red Bull have become the final team to reveal their 2025 Formula One challenger ahead of Max Verstappen's attempt to win a fifth successive driver's title. Verstappen and new teammate Liam Lawson will both drive the RB21 for the first time at the Bahrain International Circuit on Tuesday under filming day restrictions before the unlimited sessions that all 10 teams will participate in from Wednesday to Friday. Red Bull dominated the Constructors' Championship in 2022 and 2023, but finished third behind McLaren and Ferrari last year after an astonishing mid-season drop-off in performance. Meanwhile, in a similar vein, you had Mercedes showing off the new W16 car in a digital launch as they prepare for a pre-season testing and a fresh start after the departure of seven-time world champion Lewis Hamilton. Now, Italian 18-year-old wonderkid Kimi Antonelli has replaced Hamilton, who is now 40 and with Ferrari in the lineup, alongside Britain's George Russell and experienced and reserved former Mercedes racer Valtteri Bottas. Mercedes, winners of a record 8 Constructors' Championship in a row between 2014 and 2021, finished fourth last year. Well, let's see what the season brings up in terms of the very best of Formula One. Can Max Verstappen make it 5 in a row? That's the big question. Away from that now to the sport of golf, where Rory McIlroy's Boston Common Golf are close to eliminating